Ladies and gentlemen, there comes a moment in every life when the world feels heavy, the road feels endless, and faith seems like a whisper fading in the wind. But hear me when I tell you this: when you learn to trust God, truly trust Him, something shifts. The impossible begins to unfold, the broken starts to heal, and the unseen starts working in your favor. Because trusting God is not about understanding His plan. It's about believing that His plan is always greater than your pain. When you choose to trust God, you are not making a casual decision. You are stepping into a divine partnership that asks of you courage beyond measure. It means you are willing to walk through darkness with the quiet confidence that light will meet you somewhere down the road. Walking by faith is not easy, my dear ones, because faith is not proof. It is not something you can touch, see, or hold. It is something that burns deep inside your chest when the world around you offers nothing but uncertainty. To walk by faith is to rise each morning and say, Lord, I don't know what today holds, but I know who holds me. It is believing that even when your path feels uncertain, your purpose is not lost. Sight shows us what is. Faith shows us what can be. Sight tells you it's over. Faith whispers it's just beginning. Sight tells you you don't have enough. Faith declares you have exactly what you need to start. Sight is rooted in what your eyes can see. Faith is rooted in what your soul already knows. The truth is, we have been conditioned to trust what we can measure. We trust numbers, plans, and outcomes. We believe in what fits neatly into our understanding. But when you begin to walk by faith, you have to let go of your need to control every step. You must be willing to walk even when you cannot see the ground beneath you. And that's where most people stumble, in the uncertainty. Yet, that's exactly where God does His greatest work. You see, God often hides His miracles in moments that look like mistakes. He wraps blessings in detours and covers breakthroughs with burdens. He does not always show you the path, because if you could see it all, you would not need faith. God wants your trust, not your strategy. He wants your surrender, not your schedule. Faith is saying, even when it doesn't make sense, I still believe you're making a way. Some of the most beautiful things in life are born in seasons where nothing made sense. When you lose a job but gain your calling. When a door closes only for another one to open that leads you exactly where you needed to go. When someone walks out of your life and years later you realize it was the only way God could make room for what was meant to come in. That is faith. That is walking without sight, trusting that every step, even the painful ones, are leading you somewhere divine. Faith is not loud. It doesn't always roar or shake the heavens. Sometimes faith is a whisper in the middle of chaos, a gentle voice that says, keep going. Sometimes faith looks like showing up when you don't feel strong enough. Sometimes faith is the tear that falls from your eye while your heart still says, I trust you. There will be nights when your pillow catches your prayers, when you ask, why me? And hear no answer. There will be moments when you wonder if God still hears you. But I want you to know something. Silence is not absence. Delay is not denial. The moment you choose faith over fear, heaven begins to move on your behalf. The path may still look dark, but your steps are guided. The way may still seem narrow, but your purpose is clear. Faith doesn't require you to understand everything. It only requires that you take the next step. The Israelites didn't see the Red Sea part before they walked toward it. Noah didn't see the rain before he started building the ark. Abraham didn't see the land before he left his home. Every act of faith in history began with someone willing to walk without seeing. And when they did, the miraculous unfolded. Walking by faith means you choose to believe that your story has already been written by hands that do not fail. It means you no longer panic when plans fall apart, because you know the author of your life never writes tragedies without purpose. It means when storms come, and they will, you hold your peace, knowing the one who calms the seas walks beside you. When you live by sight, your emotions control your direction. You are up when things are going well, and down when they are not. But when you live by faith, you stand steady even in the storm. You no longer crumble when the ground shakes, because your foundation is no longer in circumstances, it is in the Creator. Sight is limited to the physical world, faith connects you to the supernatural. Sight sees walls, faith sees doors. Sight sees endings, faith sees beginnings. And let me tell you something, dear heart, God never asks you to walk by faith because He wants to make you suffer. He asks you to walk by faith because He knows what you cannot yet see. He knows that if you saw the entire journey, you might lose courage halfway through. Faith builds strength. Faith shapes character. Faith stretches your vision so you can see beyond fear and doubt. Every trial you face while walking in faith is not meant to destroy you, it's meant to develop you. When God asks you to trust Him, He's not asking for blind obedience. He's asking for bold belief. Belief that says, I may not know what's next, but I know who goes before me. Belief that says, even if it takes longer than I hoped, I will not lose heart. Belief that says, if God promised it, I can stand on it. Walking by faith is not about ignoring reality. It's about inviting divine reality into your situation. When the doctor gives a report, faith says, God has the final word. When your finances seem empty, faith says, my God shall supply all my needs. When people count you out, faith says, if God is for me, who can be against me? But the truth is, faith will stretch you. It will test your patience and your peace. It will take you through seasons that make you question everything you thought you knew. You will be asked to wait when you want to move when you want to wait, and to stay silent when you want to speak. Faith doesn't just change your circumstances, it changes you. It molds you into someone who no longer needs to see the whole staircase to take the first step. When you walk by faith, you begin to notice miracles in the smallest things. The sunrise after a night of tears, the unexpected kindness of a stranger, the strength to get up when you thought you couldn't. Those are not coincidences. Those are reminders that heaven is still watching, still moving, still guiding your every step. So many people miss their miracles because they refuse to move until they see. But God says, move first and then you'll see. He blesses motion, not hesitation. He rewards belief, not doubt. He honors trust, not fear. When you take that first step in faith, the universe begins to rearrange itself to align with your courage. Doors open, paths clear, people appear, timing shifts. Because faith attracts favor, you must learn to listen with your spirit more than your eyes. Your eyes may see lack, but your spirit must see abundance. Your eyes may see endings, but your spirit must see transformation. Your eyes may see a setback, but your spirit must see a setup. This is the divine exchange. When you choose faith over sight, you trade fear for peace, confusion for clarity, and control for confidence in God's perfect plan. Sometimes, faith will make you look foolish to others. People will say, why are you still believing? Why are you still hoping? But remember, Noah looked foolish until it started raining. Abraham looked foolish until Isaac was born. The Israelites looked foolish until the walls of Jericho fell. Don't be afraid to look foolish while walking by faith, because one day your obedience will speak louder than your critics. Faith requires consistency. You can't believe one day and doubt the next. You can't say, "I trust you, God," and then try to fix everything your own way. Faith is a daily decision to choose trust over panic, to choose patience over pressure. It's waking up and saying, even if I can't see it today, I still believe something good is happening behind the scenes. When you start living that way, peace becomes your companion. You stop chasing what's not meant for you. You stop forcing doors that aren't yours to open. You stop comparing your journey to others because you know your story is unfolding at the pace of divine timing. Walking by faith gives you freedom. Freedom from fear, freedom from anxiety, freedom from the need to control every outcome. God never promised that faith would make life easy, but He did promise that faith would make it possible. You will still face challenges, but you will face them differently. You will still walk through valleys, but now you will walk through them with strength. You will still meet moments of uncertainty, but now you will meet them with peace. To walk by faith is to walk with vision greater than your circumstance. It is to look at the mountain and say, "You may be big, but my God is bigger." It is to look at the storm and say, "You may be strong, but my faith is stronger." It is to walk with the quiet confidence of someone who knows that even if the path twists and turns, the destination is still blessed. Faith will take you places sight could never reach, because sight will stop when it sees a dead end. But faith sees a miracle waiting to happen. Sight will give up when it sees failure, but faith sees the seed of success buried beneath it. Sight sees brokenness, but faith sees beauty waiting to rise. Every step you take in faith echoes in eternity. It tells heaven that you believe, even when it hurts. It tells the universe that you are open to miracles. It tells your soul that it is stronger than your fear. Faith is not a feeling, it is a choice. And when you choose it again and again, it becomes your way of life. So when the night grows long and the road grows heavy, remember this truth deep within you. Walking by faith means you are never walking alone. Even when you cannot see the hand of God, you can trust His heart. Even when you cannot see the path, you can trust His promise. And even when your eyes show you nothing but darkness, your faith will always find the light. When you begin to trust God completely, you learn that miracles do not appear when you are in control. They appear when you let go. When you release your need to manage, manipulate, and predict every outcome, that's when heaven starts to move. Miracles are not born out of control. They are born out of surrender. When you finally reach that point where you say, "Lord, I've tried everything I can, and now I place it all in your hands," something shifts in the unseen world. It's as if the moment you stop striving, grace begins to flow. The weight you've been carrying suddenly feels lighter, because now it's not your battle to fight. Surrendering to God is one of the hardest things a person can do. We are raised to be strong, to take charge, to make things happen. The world tells us that control is power, but the truth is real power is in surrender. Real strength is in trusting that even when you let go, you will not fall, because God's hands are already beneath you. When you surrender, you are not giving up, you are giving over. You are handing the steering wheel of your life to the one who sees the road you cannot. You are saying, "Even if I don't understand where this is going, I trust that you do." When you live in a constant need to control, You close the door to miracles. You try to plan every detail, fix every problem, and force every outcome. But miracles don't live in control. They live in chaos surrendered to divine order. Miracles are the result of faith meeting surrender, of effort meeting trust. When you give God space to move, He moves in ways you could never have imagined. When you stop fighting for what is not meant to be, you make room for what is. There are moments in life when you've done all you can. You've prayed, planned, pushed, and nothing changes. That's when God whispers, "No, let me handle it." And the hardest thing you'll ever do is step back and say, "Okay, Lord," because surrender means silence. It means you stop trying to explain, stop trying to justify, stop trying to understand. It means you stop asking, "Why isn't it happening?" and start saying, "Whenever you're ready." Surrender is not passive, it is powerful. It doesn't mean you stop caring, it means you stop carrying. It's the act of saying, "This weight is too heavy for me, but it's not too heavy for you." It's realizing that the God who created the stars and calmed the seas can handle what's keeping you awake at night. When you surrender, you exchange worry for worship, fear for faith, control for peace. You stop chasing what's not meant for you and start attracting what's aligned with you. You will never see a miracle while you're trying to force one. Miracles require space. They need faith, not frustration. They need trust, not tension. When your hands are clenched around what you think you must have, there's no room for God to place what you truly need. But when you open your hands and say, "Your will, not mine," the flow of blessings begins. Because surrender tells heaven, "I trust you enough to stop trying to be you." Many people say they trust God, but still try to control every detail of their life. They pray for a miracle, then panic when it doesn't happen on their schedule. But God's timing is never late. It's just different from yours. The miracle you're waiting for might be delayed because you're still holding on too tightly. Sometimes God waits for you to let go before He steps in. He waits until you've exhausted all your strength so you can finally experience His. You see, surrender is the gateway to peace. It doesn't make life perfect, but it makes your heart still. It allows you to rest in the knowing that everything is unfolding exactly as it should. And when you reach that state of peace, you become a magnet for miracles. Because miracles are not just about external blessings. They are about internal alignment. When your heart, your spirit, and your trust are in harmony with God, life begins to move in your favor. There are things you've been trying to make happen for years. Doors that refuse to open, relationships that never quite work, prayers that seem unanswered. But have you truly surrendered them? Have you really said, "God, if it's not for me, take it away"? Because sometimes the miracle is not in getting what you want, it's in being freed from what you thought you needed. Surrender reveals what's real. It shows you that what's meant for you will never require you to beg, chase, or force. It will come with peace, not pressure. When you surrender, you stop fearing loss. You understand that what leaves was never meant to stay, and what stays was never meant to leave. You stop seeing closed doors as rejection and start seeing them as protection. You stop asking, "Why?" and start saying, "Thank you." That shift from resistance to release, that's where the miracle happens. There are countless stories of people who found peace the moment they stopped controlling everything. The woman who prayed for love, but finally stopped chasing and met someone when she least expected it. The man who lost his job, thought it was over, and discovered his purpose through it. The family who almost lost everything, but found faith in the middle of nothing. These are not coincidences. These are the fingerprints of God showing up after surrender. When you surrender, miracles are no longer something you chase. They become something you attract. You start noticing that everything is connected, that everything has purpose. The traffic jam that delayed you might have protected you from danger. The rejection that broke you might have redirected you to something far greater. The waiting season that frustrated you might be preparing you for blessings you can't yet handle. When you surrender, you start to see that nothing is random. Everything is orchestrated by a loving hand. But surrender doesn't happen once. It happens daily. Every morning, you wake up and choose to release your grip on how you think things should go. You say, God, guide my step, even if I don't see the full path. You trust that every no is making room for a better yes. You learn to live with open hands and a peaceful heart. Sometimes surrender looks like silence. Sometimes it looks like walking away from what no longer fits. Sometimes it looks like forgiving someone who doesn't deserve it. And sometimes it looks like standing still when your instinct says to run. Every act of surrender is a declaration of trust, a statement that says, I may not have control, but I know who does. There's a divine irony to surrender. The moment you release control, you gain everything. Because now you are aligned with the flow of grace, not fighting against it. You are no longer trying to force outcomes, you are allowing them. And in that allowing, miracles happen naturally. Opportunities arise without you chasing them. Healing begins without you forcing it. The right people find you without you seeking them. Miracles are not always loud or dramatic. Sometimes they're quiet. A peace that floods your soul, a burden that suddenly lifts, a door that opens at the perfect time. You might not even realize it's a miracle until you look back and see how perfectly everything came together. That's the beauty of surrender. It lets God paint the picture while you rest in the process. When you live in surrender, your energy changes. You no longer move with desperation, you move with trust. You no longer ask, when will it happen? You say, you will happen when it's meant to. You no longer chase validation, you rest in purpose. And that peace, that faith, becomes magnetic. The world responds differently when you stop forcing and start flowing. Surrender doesn't mean doing nothing. It means doing your part and trusting God with the rest. You still work, you still pray, you still show up, but you stop trying to control what's beyond your reach. You plant the seeds, but you let God decide the season of harvest. And when you can live that way, miracles will seem to follow you. Not because you are lucky, but because you are aligned. Sometimes surrender will require you to walk away from something you love. It will ask you to let go of dreams that once defined you. It will challenge you to release people who were part of your past, but not your future. It will hurt. But that pain is the price of peace. And once you've paid it, you'll find a freedom that control could never give you. The reason many people never experience true miracles is because they never truly surrender. They hold on just enough to feel safe, but never enough to be free. They want God to bless their plans, but not to change them. They say, Lord, I trust you, but still keep one hand on the wheel. But miracles only happen when you remove your hands entirely and let Him steer. God's greatest works happen in the absence of your control. The sea parted not because Moses understood how, but because he obeyed and stretched his hand. The walls of Jericho fell not because of military power, but because of faith and obedience. Every miracle in Scripture followed surrender. Every breakthrough came after someone said, your will be done. When you reach that sacred space where your soul whispers, I surrender all, something shifts in heaven. You stop wrestling with life, and life begins to work for you. You stop asking for signs and start living as if the promise is already yours. You stop doubting your journey and start trusting your direction. Because now you understand that what is meant for you cannot miss you, and what misses you was never meant for you. So let the world spin. Let the seasons change. Let people come and go. You don't have to control it anymore. The moment you release your need to know how it will happen, you make space for God to show you what's possible. When you surrender, you stop living in fear of the unknown because you know the unknown is held by a known God. And that truth alone is enough to turn waiting into worship, pain into purpose, and ordinary days into the beginning of miracles. Every delay in your life carries divine purpose. There are seasons where you will pray and heaven will feel silent. You will dream with all your heart, and still the doors will not open. You will do everything right, and yet nothing will move. And in those moments, it's easy to believe something has gone wrong. But when you trust God, you begin to see that delay is not denial, it is direction. It is God's gentle way of saying, not yet. Because I am still preparing you, still protecting you, still positioning you for what is meant to be yours. Every delay has meaning, even when it hurts, even when it feels unfair. The pause is part of the promise. We live in a world that worships speed. Everything around us says, hurry, push harder, move faster. But God works on divine time, not human time. His pace is slower, steadier, deeper. He's not in a rush because he's not just giving you what you asked for. He's building the strength in you to hold what you asked for. You may be praying for the blessing, but God is preparing the vessel. You may be asking for the door to open, but God is fortifying the floor beneath you so that when it does, you don't fall under the weight of it. When you learn to trust God's timing, peace becomes your companion. You stop panicking when things don't happen according to your schedule because you begin to understand that some delays are divine detours. You think you're being held back, but you're actually being redirected. You think you're standing still, but heaven is moving things around for your good. You think you're waiting, but God is working, arranging the right people, aligning the right moments, removing what doesn't belong, and refining what still needs growth inside you. Sometimes the delay is not about where you're going, but about who you're becoming. God is far more concerned with your character than your calendar. You may want the promise now, but He wants your heart ready to carry it. If He gave it too soon, it might destroy you instead of bless you. He knows that the waiting season is where faith deepens, where patience strengthens, and where trust matures. The waiting is not wasted. It's where you are molded. There are people you haven't met yet who are part of your blessing, and they are not ready either. God is working on them too. There are opportunities that are still being formed, doors still being built, paths still being cleared. And if you got there too early, it would not make sense. The delay is not just about you. It's about the orchestration of divine timing. It's about all the pieces coming together in perfect harmony. When it finally happens, you'll realize it couldn't have happened any other way. In your waiting season, you'll be tempted to question yourself, to question your worth, to question your prayers. You'll ask, why not me? Or when will it be my turn? But remember, God does not delay to punish you. He delays to prepare you. You're not being overlooked. You're being hidden for a reason. Hidden so you can heal. hidden so you can grow, hidden so when the spotlight shines, you're not shaken by it. Some of the most powerful transformations happen in silence, in obscurity, in the seasons when no one is clapping for you. When you're in delay, it's easy to compare your journey to others. You see them celebrating while you're still waiting, and you start to wonder if God forgot you. But comparison is the thief of peace and the enemy of trust. What's meant for you will not pass you by, but it will not arrive early either. Your story is unfolding in a rhythm that is sacredly yours. The same God who turned Joseph's prison into a palace, who turned David's delay in the fields into a crown, is the same God writing your story. And just like them, your delay is not a dead end. It's a divine design. You see, when life slows down, God speeds up his work inside you. He begins to reveal what you couldn't see when you were rushing. He starts to strip away attachments, illusions, and dependencies that don't belong to your next season. He refines your heart so that when the blessing comes, you won't worship the gift. You'll worship the giver. There's a reason gold must go through fire before it shines. You too must go through refinement before you rise. Delay teaches you discipline. It teaches you faith without evidence, hope without proof, and patience without timeline. It teaches you to rely on what you believe rather than what you see. When nothing is happening outside of you, everything is happening inside of you. God is building endurance, humility, and perspective. He's teaching you how to walk by faith and not by sight, how to rest in uncertainty without losing peace. And those lessons will sustain you long after the waiting season ends. There are blessings that come easily, and then there are blessings that must be grown into. The ones that take time are the ones that transform you. If God handed you everything you prayed for today, would you be ready to handle it? Would your heart be able to hold the responsibility that comes with it? Sometimes the delay is mercy. Sometimes the delay is grace disguised as frustration. It's God saying, I love you too much to give it to you before you're ready. When you start to view delay through that lens, it no longer feels like punishment. It feels like protection. You begin to thank God not only for the doors that opened, but for the ones that stayed shut. Because hindsight always reveals what foresight cannot. The job you didn't get was making room for the purpose you were meant to fulfill. The person who left was clearing space for the one who will truly stay. The prayer that wasn't answered was leading you towards something better than you imagined. Sometimes God delays what you want so he can deliver what you need. He will withhold what seems good to give you what is great. He will pause the process so that your foundation doesn't crack under the blessing. The delay is never random. It's always relational. It's God saying, I'm not done shaping you yet. And when the shaping is complete, the blessing will fit perfectly. Faith in the waiting is one of the purest forms of trust. It's easy to believe when everything is moving, but true faith is believing when nothing is happening. It's continuing to pray when you don't feel heard. It's showing up when you see no result. It's choosing gratitude when the outcome hasn't changed. That kind of faith touches heaven. That kind of patience shakes the spiritual realm. Because when you trust in the delay, you're saying, I don't just believe in your power, Lord, I believe in your timing. And that's the difference between human understanding and divine wisdom. Human understanding says, it's taking too long. Divine wisdom says, it's right on time. Human understanding says, I can't wait any longer. Divine wisdom says, wait just a little more. I'm not done yet. When you align yourself with divine timing, frustration turns into faith, and impatience turns into peace. You stop forcing what's not ready and start trusting what's being prepared. Think of a seed buried in the ground. For weeks, maybe months, there's no sign of life. It's dark, quiet, and still. But beneath the soil, a miracle is forming. Roots are growing, foundations are being laid. If the seed were dug up too soon, it would die. The same is true for you in your waiting. You are not buried, you are planted. And when the time is right, you will bloom, but not a moment before. Delay gives you time to recognize what truly matters. It strips away distractions and reveals your values. It teaches you that life is not just about arrival, it's about evolution. Every delay you've endured has built a deeper level of strength inside you. The kind of strength you couldn't gain if everything came easy. You've learned resilience. You've learned patience. You've learned the power of stillness. Those lessons are the invisible blessings of delay. There will be moments when you feel forgotten. You will wonder why others move ahead while you seem to remain in place. But God never forgets. The delay does not mean you are being left behind. It means you are being prepared for something different. He does not operate in lines. He operates in purpose. Your timeline and someone else's are not meant to match. Their early success does not mean your later one will be smaller. Sometimes the late bloom is the most beautiful. Delay refines your gratitude. When you finally receive what you've waited for, you will cherish it differently. You will hold it gently, knowing the cost of the waiting. You will thank God not only for what you received, but for the patience it took to receive it. The waiting season softens your heart, humbles your spirit, and strengthens your faith. It turns you into someone who values process as much as the promise. Sometimes the divine purpose in delay is hidden until much later. You'll look back and say, "Now I see why it took so long." You'll realize that if it had happened earlier, you might have missed the lesson, the connection, or the growth that made the blessing meaningful. What you thought was wasted time was actually sacred time, the time God used to make you ready. In every delay, there's an invitation to deepen your faith. There's an opportunity to surrender control and trust the divine order of things. There's a chance to rest instead of rush, to believe instead of beg, to stand still and know that God's clock is never wrong. You don't need to chase what's meant for you. It will arrive precisely when the timing aligns with your growth. Every delay carries divine purpose, the kind that cannot be rushed, cannot be forced, and cannot be stolen. Because when it's time, it won't just happen. It will unfold beautifully, perfectly, effortlessly, in a way that makes you whisper, "Now I understand why it took so long."